Well,
You
sushi
cannot.
is-
No, give me my phone back. You cannot get sushi.
I'm waiting for someone to come in. Please.
Hey, hi everyone. Good evening. Good evening. No, we're not getting sushi. It's just for you.
No, everyone will.
Oh my goodness. I shouldn't have started the live right now. But anyway, it's all right. It's okay. We're gonna move on because we have a lot to talk about. Like, did you know? Wait, there's a little sunset action for you. Did you know that Israel's real and probably most combative war is about to begin, and it's not what you think? I know. Wasn't that very clickbaity? Like even Raya wants to know.
What's happening?
What's happening? Stop! You're shaking the thing. You're shaking that. Like the whole
Guys,
thing's
there's bombs
shaking.
coming. That's why it's shaking.
No bombs coming. No.
What?
No.
What happened? What?
I don't want to
Russia.
say now. I want to drag people along to the end of the broadcast. That was
Tell-
the whole point.
Tell her we should get sushi.
Yeah. So actually, but my biggest war is about to begin. Dinner. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Anyway, hey, welcome back. There's a few things to talk about. Of course, we're going to get to the big war that is about to rock Israel. I'm sure you are interested, but we have so much more as well. I just want to say that this is the first night in 7 weeks that my parents are not here. Last night, just even less than 24 hours ago, they finally left for America. I'm not saying finally. I mean, they could have stayed longer, but they only planned to stay about 3.5 weeks. And it ended up being 7 weeks because of the Israel-Iran war, which everything was canceled. Give it back to me when you're done. I mean, all flights were canceled. The airport was closed. It was absolutely insane. And by the time they got a new flight, it was 7 weeks after the original. So no complaints. We had a great time, and we actually got to do our annual. It's become like an annual vacation with my parents. So they come here, and then we pop over to Crete for about 5 days, and it's just magical and amazing. And so we got that just out of the way. We arrived back in Israel on June 3rd. And as we arrived and got our luggage and got outside the airport, there were sirens, and hence it began. That was the Houthis, though, and that was like we had another 10 days until the real deal began, and that was anyway. It was crazy. So as my parents were leaving, I was like, it's not everyone in the world that can say that they endured 10 days, 12 days of ballistic missiles and running to bomb shelters. I mean, think about it. Okay, maybe 2 generations ago, yes, if they're from Europe. And of course, there are wars going on today. And of course, if you're watching on behalf of the Palestinians, you would say, well, there are no bomb shelters for the Gazans. Very true. No sirens, no bomb shelters. Sometimes warnings, sometimes not. So not as a matter of comparison, but just as a matter of comparison to ourselves, have any of you ever had to run to a bomb shelter? I mean, new thing for a lot of us. Stop. You're not ordering sushi. Just dream on. Oh my God. I hope this thing is not attached to my credit card. Okay. So anyway, go make yourself some food. Okay. So there's a lot going on right now. You know that we are at the end of it's been since June 24th, the ceasefire between Israel, Iran, and that's holding. I mean, not to mention the fact that Israel they still have some sovereignty, some degree of sovereignty over the skies, and there have been attacks there. Israel's also still attacking targets in Lebanon, that even though there's a ceasefire there in place, and also in Syria. But President Trump has moved on, and he's ready now to make a deal to end the Gaza war. So now that's been dragging on destructively since October 8th, 2023. You can imagine, of course, in the beginning, that Israelis were very much, many Israelis were in favor of the war. And now people, it's after a couple of months, and especially within the past year, people are like, all right, make a deal, stop fighting, make a deal, get the hostages out. And that hasn't happened. So now the death toll in Gaza is over 50,000. And there's still 50 Israeli hostages left, unknown how many are still alive. I mean, many of them are believed to have already been killed even from October 7th, and their bodies taken into Gaza. So, will there be a deal? Now, I always, I make fun of the word imminent because it gets overused, abused, and then it loses its meaning. And for a while now, people have been saying that, a deal is imminent, a ceasefire is imminent, negotiations are imminent, and I've given up with the word imminent. Although now there's a little bit more proof. Like, for instance, the Israeli delegation went to Doha, the Islamic Jihad delegation went to Doha, and Hamas went to Doha, or some of them already live there, and they are going to negotiate a deal. I think it was put forth by the US. What I heard, I mean, again, I don't like to get into the details of this because it changes so much. And until I see that somebody's signing a paper and withdrawing their military, I'm not going to believe that there's actually a deal. So, but I did hear that Hamas responded positively to the deal, but then the Israeli government said that Hamas made changes that are unacceptable. So anyway, so we'll see what happens. Now, the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, is in Washington or on his way. I don't know if he landed or if he was taking off when I saw, the plane right here, the footage on the news just now. And that's how much you can see. I'm like, you're paying attention to the details. But he actually took with him in his plane, the equivalent of Air Force One, he took with him the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee. So apparently that's like some unprecedented thing that a U.S. official would actually get in the plane with the Israeli government leaders and go to the U.S. So what's on the cards for the U.S.? In the last, since the Iran war ended, so that was June 24th, immediately, even before the ceasefire held or anything, Trump was talking about that we're going to expand the circle, the agreements. This is going to be it's not just an agreement with Iran to end the war, but we're going to start seeing an expansion of the Abraham Accords. And those are the normalization agreements between Israel and the Muslim states, Gulf states. So far, just Gulf states and Morocco. Was Bahrain, UAE, Morocco. Sudan was like a tepid partner there, and I'm not really sure if they're considered in or out right now. But lots of speculation going around. Like, will Indonesia be a part of it? Will Oman be a part of it? Will Qatar, which is like Qatar, is the on again, off again. We love them. We hate them. They're bad. They're good. Like, are they going to join? I mean, I don't know. And last but not least, Syria. Is Syria going to join the Abraham Accords? I mean, now you hope not. What?
Not, they don't join the war.
No, not the war. Not the war, Brian.
So I understand I was going to die.
No, I'll get to the war later.
What did you do the dramatic starting then?
It's called clickbait. Don't worry. I think she has PTSD. I think most kids do. Can't imagine the Gazan kids. God help them. Really. Okay, I'm not being sarcastic. I'm being very sincere when I say that. If you can see a little bit of PTSD in like the small things like running to bomb shelters from ballistic missiles that actually busted through bomb shelters and killed people, and really nasty sirens and sounds and stuff like that, I can't imagine what other people are going through. So anyway, oh no, can you do this? Here's the other thing. See this?
fix it.
weapons. Please go check Daniel's
I can't find
temperature.
this phone charger. My phone's about to die.
It's probably right there. Anyway.
I looked.
All right. So the other thing we're battling here is a fever. Poor Daniel. So I talked about, I think a week and a half during the war, I said, oh, please join me for Raya's virtual graduation because we thought it was canceled. It was delayed. It ended up being rescheduled.
It had yellow, and I'm gonna check the button.
Okay. Give me numbers. But
37.8
37.8 doesn't sound too high at this point.
and 37.8 here.
Oh, that's not all right. Not bad. It went up, but it's not all right. So Raya ended up actually having her graduation. They rescheduled it for a couple of days after the ceasefire, and so we didn't do it virtually. So if you were missing that, that's why. And but Daniel is missing his end of year party, which was delayed till tonight, because Daniel's been nursing a fever of 101, 102, 103 in the last couple days, in the last 3 days, and he's actually perfectly fine between fevers. But anyway, so he is right now missing his party. Anyway, so okay, so let me go back to Syria. I think I got interrupted somewhere about Syria. They're not about to join the war. They are about to maybe join the Abraham Accords. Like suddenly Syria got like all accepted by the world, even though it is a very fragile and brand new government there that overthrew the Assad regime. I mean, Assad, not exactly a saint, but who took his place? I have an article on my website about Julani, the one who took his place, leading his group of rebels. Sorry, I'm looking it up right here. But leading his group of rebels. And since then, we have seen a lot of massacres, a lot of like targeting one group, like the Alawites, targeting Christians, targeting Druze. So a lot of, there's still a lot of, well, I even read today that there's still a lot of mass murders going on, and it's just not getting reported. Now, of course, I couldn't verify that, but it was being reported a lot initially, and then it just went out of the news. In the meantime, sanctions were lifted by the U.S. On Syria, and there were other. He was pulled in. Or a lot of world leaders went and met with Julani, and I heard that he is going to be going to the U.S. as well right now. So, and then everybody also I think they removed the sanctions. They removed him from the terror watch list. I mean, all these things. So there's like this acceptance. And I mean, I was saying, well, what happened? Did he have a come to Jesus moment and I missed it? I mean, I didn't see him out there repenting or saying, I'm a changed person and we accept everybody. I mean, I didn't see that happen. I missed that. So anyway, okay, I'm trying to see if there's anything here. The rebels, one of the groups, I think this was his, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS. Yes, that's Julani's group. And it's an Al-Qaeda breakaway. So anyway, it's interesting, like with Syria, Israel has been bombing Syria had been bombing Syria after the rebels took over. And that basically like cleared an aerial path between here and Iran, probably in anticipation of what we just saw. So basically, like as we go back to normal, so we had this like war within a war. It's very odd. Let me explain to you that when you're already at war, you have the Gaza war in the background. And yes, we, for the most part, can live normal lives. Like, people from Jerusalem, let's say, who are generally unaffected, we can live normal lives. But we had the war in the background, and it affects a lot of things. It affects like how the government functions. It means you're in a state of emergency. It means that not all the airlines have come back, and tourism is still very slow. And this is like, also a tourism-based economy. there's also just, a litany, a cascade of effects just to have the war in the background. Things could change at any minute. You have uncertainty. There's protests. There's government decisions that are made based on politics, based on the war. So anyway, all that's going on. But then you get the war within a war, and you have 12 very intense days of life or death situations, which are very different from, the 18 plus months beforehand. Then, okay, you can go back to normal. So then you can stop everything in 1 second. They tell you all of the restrictions, which were basically like COVID level restrictions, like up to here, like don't leave your house, don't go far, everything's closed, only essential businesses can function, and that's it. So all of that exists, and all of these restrictions, and then they all get taken away in one instant. And suddenly the kid that was sitting in a bomb shelter because of sirens on one morning is 24 hours later on the way to school. So it's a bit like cognitive dissonance. And then when you go back to normal, which is not easy to go from 200 miles an hour to zero, and then, ramp up to 100, go back to work, whatever, it doesn't make sense. And you're not really sure you can trust now that things are safe. So it's just like, and then there's still a war. And then all of a sudden, without even waiting for the dust to settle, we've got a new reality across the Middle East. It's a new Middle East. Everybody wants to make peace with Israel. Really? Because they were just condemning them. I mean, look what you're doing in Gaza. Look what's happening, like humanitarian aid not getting to the people. And what is happening with the humanitarian aid? It's a whole big deal actually right now, because there's this American organization, whatever, that's inside Gaza Humanitarian Fund. And they have these points set up for aid, which are in specific locations, and people have to get to them. People going to these sites have been killed by the hundreds. And why? It's a mixture of Hamas, it's a mixture of the IDF, and everybody has their reasons for, Hamas has its reasons. Israel always says, this happened, or soldiers were under threat, or they only fire when they're under threat. Okay, but, were they? Or it's a very hazy atmosphere that nobody knows what's happening. So everybody was condemning Israel, but suddenly we're in for a new Middle East. What's the new Middle East? Saudi Arabia is going to join the Abraham Accords, Oman, Syria, Indonesia, what really, all of a sudden, it just and the war's still going on in Gaza. So that's why we have to pay attention to right now to why is Bibi in Washington? And is Giuliani also going to be there? I think, like I said, I think he's going to America. I had read that a week ago or something, that he's going to be there too. So are they meeting, and what's happening? And, these are very important questions, because it's going to change the makeup of this neighborhood. So, okay. So let me get back to the beginning, and let me tell you what the real war awaiting is. The biggest war, Israel's biggest war on the horizon.
Finally.
Yes, Raya's been waiting over there.
Mom, I think everybody.
Is everybody waiting on the edge of their seats? Can you imagine? If you have any thought what it is, please put it in the chat. And by the way, hello, Walter. Good to see you. I hope I see you in person. You're supposed to be coming here in a couple months, right? Or the end of the summer. So I hope that happens. So, you never know. You never know these days with the tickets. It's so sketchy. Okay. You ready for the real war within a war? Just got a press release from the military statement. This week, the Israeli military, the IDF, will begin issuing summonses for the remaining members of the ultra-Orthodox community to complete the enlistment process. These will be issued to those whose status as yeshiva students is no longer valid following the expiration of the law, which was protecting them from not serving in the army. The summons are expected to be sent out in several phases during the month of July until all 54,000 orders have been issued. The enlistment appointments at the recruitment offices will be scheduled throughout the entire 2025 draft year. And then it goes on and on to talk about, the IDF will focus efforts and prioritize the individuals, the high potential for combat or for frontline combat support roles. Do you know why this is such a big issue?
I'm confused. I don't understand anything.
Raya doesn't know, so we're going to explain. Okay, so in Israel, military service is mandatory, men and women. You turn 18 years old, you're in the army. There's a few exceptions. Many of the Arab population, for instance, can get an exemption. Many don't want to serve. And if they don't want to serve, Israel probably doesn't want them to serve. But among the Jews, the ultra-Orthodox Jews have never served in the army. They have always been granted exemptions from serving in the military. So after a war like this that's gone on for almost 2 years, and they're calling reservists back over and over and over again, they're leaving their families, their businesses are crumbling, all these crazy things like that. So since that's happening, now there's more pressure from the rest of society to get the ultra Orthodox, which is a 13% of the population. So they would be making up a good portion of the army. It would be a little bit of a relief for the reservists and for the soldiers that are currently there. But they have refused to serve because they say they serve God by being in their yeshivas and by learning Torah and by praying for the country, while the others are going to fight for the country. So they maintain that they need to stay in their yeshivas and to stay praying and not serve in the army. So
It's really hard.
how'd you make rice? Just now you made rice?
Yeah.
Raya just made disassembled sushi. What's the word in English? Oh my gosh, I know it's a word. It's a word in culinary terms now when you take something apart and you serve it like disassembled, but that's not the word. I can't think of the translation and the real word. Good job.
I use the pad thai sauce.
Very good, very good. Okay, thank God. Order on Walt averted. Thank God. So anyway, this is actually what has been, don't put it loud, please, a civil war here in Israel. It's been an ongoing civil war for decades now that the secular in society are paying a disproportionate price in terms of taxes and military service, and the ultra-Orthodox are not paying. They don't work either, by the way, because they get stipends for being in yeshiva, and they get stipends for their children, and the men don't work. They go to the seminaries to study, and the women actually work, usually is what happens, but they don't serve in the army, and they're exempt from a lot of taxes. Raya, put it lower, please. It's too loud. I can hear it from here. Raya, put it lower. You can't even hear me say it, put it lower. Oh my goodness. So anyway, so that is about to erupt into a civil war. What will happen is if the summonses are issued, and if they actually go to get the recruits forcibly because they haven't returned, there will be huge demonstrations by the ultra-Orthodox community. And that has happened in the past. Every time this issue comes up, they go out there and protest. They block highways and rail lines and everything like that. They burn dumpsters, and they have usually violent encounters with the police, both sides being violent. So anyway.
Oh, so you know we're in the downtown, right? So the train tracks, there's so much police cars. It's blocking the train track.
Really?
And there's police still coming. I'm like,
what happened?
I don't know.
Maybe it was a protest. Okay, maybe the protest is starting tonight. Raya was downtown. She saw the train being blocked by police cars. So anyway, so that is shaping up to reignite the civil war, which was already, that was what was happening before October 7th. And it's part of the angst and the clash of the demographics here on the grounds in Israel. Very insider, interesting things that go on here. So anyway, they're talking about it right now. I think. Anyway, okay, so this week, what we got to be watching, what are Trump and Netanyahu going to be talking about in their meeting? What do they have in store? Is Syria going to be part of it? Is Saudi Arabia going to be part of it? Is there going to be a ceasefire in Gaza? And if so, what happens to the Gazans? Will the Israeli military actually withdraw? They've taken over at least 30% of the strip right now, possibly more. And I'm not sure if the government is not in favor of withdrawing the military. So are they just going to up and do that? And if they do, what happens? What do the Gazans do? They move back? Well, entire neighborhoods are destroyed. There are no buildings. There's no infrastructure. There's nowhere to live. There's nowhere to go. So what happens to the people? Actually, what happens to the people? So there are so many questions that challenges that have to be solved if there is a ceasefire. And what about the 50 hostages? They always talk about these ridiculous release of like one at a time, these little trickles. Oh, we'll give you 10 of the living ones and then another 10 of the living ones, but like only one at a time for every week. Like you're going to drag this on. It's going to go on and on. So this is what we're looking for. We're looking for what the powers that be have decided and what they're going to announce in the coming days. So anyway, I want to thank you for joining, for tuning in, and for being with us on this insane journey. And if you find this information useful, I really appreciate it if you would subscribe, if you would share with people who are also interested in hearing perspectives on this region, not just one, but many, but several, and what's going on. And also feel free to ask questions and all of us to help all of us gain some kind of understanding. So anyway, thank you very much. And tune in next time and we'll see where this crazy ride takes us and what they have in store for us in DC.